Welcome in, belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 108, a week 7 preview. And it is my great pleasure to welcome back into the bar Mr. Bernie, aka Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing tonight, Bernie?
Well, all of my organs appear to be in their designated spots, so I'm good.
Oh, that's very good. Self-checks are always the way to go. Yeah. I want to let you guys know I am on my third Red Bull tonight, so if I sound like the Micro Machine Man, I apologize. I am geeked and goosed.
You have dated yourself with that reference.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, guys.
You shaved off that beard, but you brought it all back with that reference there.
All right. Yeah. So we have another full episode for you guys as we will set the slate for this weekend's prime time games, check in on the player news and practice reports. We will check in on the waiver activity of our waiver wire. We'll go over this week's matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League. Pardon me. See who's on top of the newest power rankings. We're also going to give you our starts of the week, and I guarantee these guys are going to be bangers this week. And we will have another installment of a 4th and Long with Bernie. And we will take stock in this week's Wingman Jam. And of course, we will dive into the mailbag. But before we do any of that, we want to make sure everyone's here. Let's get everybody in the room. Wingman Assemble! All right, let's get into some news and notes in terms of our prime time games. This week, there are only 2 teams on bye, as the Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys are both on bye this week. And the NFL schedule is a little wonky, so be aware of the unusual schedule, as once again, there is a game early on Sunday morning in London, but this week there are 2 Monday night games. First, let me ask you about the teams on bye this week, the Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys. We have the Bears who are getting hot and taking a break, and the Dallas Cowboys are freezing cold and they need the break. What do you think about these guys missing this week due to their bye weeks?
I think that puts a lot of our managers in some scramble mode because there's a lot of players from each of those teams that put up a lot of points.
I don't know what I'm going to do without Brandon Aubrey this week. He's my best player.
Yeah. I know what Ezekiel Elliott will be doing.
He'll be on a roster getting 0 points again. At least he won't be in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start off with the primetime games. Let's see here. On Thursday night, we have the Denver Broncos galloping their way down to the Bayou to take on the New Orleans Saints at 8:15 p.m. in a return trip for Sean Payton to his old stomping grounds. And on Sunday morning in London, we have the early game with the Jacksonville Jaguars giving up a home game to take on the New England Patriots in London. I've said London 3 times in about 10 words. And on the Sunday night game, we had the New York Jets soaring their way to the Steel City to take on the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and that game's at 8:20. Now for the 2 Monday night games. The first one starts at 8:15 p.m. with the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks in a battle of potential MVP quarterbacks. And the last game of the week will be the LA Chargers shocking their way over to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals, and that game starts at 9 p.m. Which of these games, or how many of these games, catches your attention?
Well, the first game, the Thursday night game, catches my attention right away. I'm not too worried about the Monday night games because I'll be sleeping. And the Sunday night game catches my attention just so I could see what Pittsburgh plans to do with their offense.
Are you intrigued? Are you gonna hate watch the combination of Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers? What are we gonna do about this?
Ooh, no, I'm intrigued. The only reason I would hate on that is because it's the Jets, and it's the Jets. But it's interesting. It's an interesting storyline in the NFL, and that's why we watch it. It's our soap opera.
So we got we'll get into a little bit more potentially later, although this one's mostly fantasy league related, but we have
Yeah.
the debut of Adams for the Jets, and then the season debut of Russell Wilson, most likely. Most likely, it's not official for the Steelers. So we've, a very, I think the Sunday night game, even though these aren't teams that I love to watch each other play, they have some, like you said, storylines and intriguing players and making their debuts this week.
Yeah, for sure. It's must watch TV.
Just to see how these guys handle everything, I guess.
Exactly.
All right. All right. Now for the Thursday night game, we only had one player in our manager's lineups tonight, and that was Bernie's Team B, who had Alvin Kamara going up against his old coach. So usually we have 8 to 12 players in our lineups, but this game was such a blah fest, at least on paper, with all the injuries and the no-name players. But Kamara made it. You have the only guy. You're the only one watching this game with any interest. How's it going for you?
Oh, I lost interest during the first half. It's not going so well. Game script is getting out of hand. Kamara seems to be the best asset, and they're just not using him right. So I don't know who this Allen guy is as coach, but I don't think he's not doing anything exciting for me.
Not to bring up other shows here, but we're all fans like everybody else. So the one show I listen to, the Fantasy Footballers, the one host there, he hates Dennis Allen. He thinks he's the worst human being in the world.
Oh, wow.
And he's just waiting for him to get fired. The funny thing was when they start off 0-2, he's like, great, now the guy's not going to get fired this year. But he's losing 5 games in a row since then. There's a decent chance.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch what they're calling on the field. So.
All right, let's get into some player news and practice reports. And I'm giving you a warning up front. This is a long list, so we're going to, but we want to talk about these. These are very interesting developments here. So let's start off with Marvin Harrison Jr., who's in the concussion protocol, but he is progressing through the process. And being that their game is the last game of the week on Monday, there is a decent chance he actually may clear the concussion protocol by game time. So just keep that in mind. You're definitely going to have a backup plan ready. So Crazy Fish, pay attention here, but you might not lose any time with Marvin Harrison Jr. We have Ramondre Stevenson, another Crazy Fish player, was not on the practice field yesterday and is listed as questionable for the Patriots game in London. These 9:30 games on Sunday are so hard to deal with injuries. You get the early idea of what you're going to do, but you have to make decisions. You don't have time to wait what other players might do if they're going to be healthy or not. Mike Evans is now dealing with a hamstring injury that kept him off the practice field on Thursday. And Rashid Shaheed, let's pour one out for Shaheed, as he is now expected. I wrote this down wrong, but he had surgery today and is going to be out for 4 to 6 months in rehab and recovery. So his season is now officially over. And Nick Chubb is expected to make his season debut in week 7, although he has not been officially activated yet. That'll come later in the week. Like I said, I believe the deadline is Saturday at 4 p.m. Let's take a little break here as we have Nick Chubb here, one of your guys. What do you think about Harrison maybe progressing through the concussion protocol week in concussion protocol in 1 week? Mike Evans with a late week injury here, and Shaheed being out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so Mike Evans, that's a concern. Not a huge concern, but if he's not on the field, that does put a damper on their passing game. Rashid Shaheed, that is a big loss, and we can see it right now with this Thursday night game. I believe Fantastics does have some other players that he can fill into that role, but that is going to be a big loss. And I'm glad that I think he opted for the longer surgery to be out longer, but it's going to be more beneficial for his long-term goals in the NFL. So he'll have a better chance of being the speedster that he was before the surgery. And then Nick Chubb, I have been debating this, if he gets the clear and they are going to start him, and Yahoo and the other sites give him a projection more than 10. I think I might put him in. I think I might just go ahead and start him.
I think I saw a projection for it's about 9 points, either just under at 8.97 or 9 point something.
Yeah, so it keeps fluctuating, but I've got to roll the dice, especially if I'm having this bad game right now with Kamara. I need some lightning to strike.
Before the season started, what week did you think he'd be back by?
5.
You really thought he'd be back that early?
Yeah. I think there was some contract things, some bonus structure things that were going on. So just because the media was talking about it, I thought, okay, that's a good point. I'm no doctor and I don't play one on TV,
Right.
so I don't really know about how long recovery would be. But I think if we look at the progression of the NFL season so far, all the players that have been coming back from injuries, the teams have been really doing a good job of not bringing them back too early, so they're
I
not
agree.
going out. They're getting the full workload right away. They're not like half workloads for that first game back. So I think whatever's going on right now, lots of injuries, but everybody's respecting the injury enough. Unless your name is Josh Allen and you can kind of do whatever you want, and the team doesn't care about you, and it's not days, it's minutes, hours to come back from a big head hit.
Yeah. I was guessing, I was optimistic he'd make it back by week 8, anywhere between 8 and 10. So this is a nice bit of news that he's expected. He's not officially activated yet, but all indications are by the reports he's expected to play this week.
Yeah, and if the past of the NFL has any sort of inclination in what might happen, remember Frank Gore was on a couple of those bad San Francisco teams, and they just kept giving him the ball and giving him the ball, and he was just pounded away and getting those fantasy points back in the day. So hopefully, I really like Nick Chubb as a person and a player, but
Right.
hopefully they don't run him to the ground and he's not worth anything after trying to get out of Cleveland.
Gotcha. All right, let's continue on with the news here. Like I said, there's a lot here, but we're gonna talk about these are big things, a lot of changes. Devon Achane has been practicing in full, and he is expected to make his return from a concussion that he sustained in week 5. Devin Singletary has been limited all week, and this is really questionable. It's hard to say. He may miss another game. He did practice last week in the limited fashion, and he did miss. Aaron Jones, who is dealing with a hamstring injury, did return to the practice field on Thursday, but he too will be listed as questionable heading into Sunday's game. Rachaad White returned to a limited practice this week, meaning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield may be even more crowded for their Monday night game. And Jordan Mason has been a limited participant all week, which is the good part, but he's been in a non-contact jersey as he deals with an AC joint sprain. And we'll do one more here. Aaron Rodgers, who's been a bit banged up, did practice fully and is expected to play. All right, so we have Achane coming back. Devin Singletary, I know you've got his backup. That this is interesting. Aaron Jones is seems to be practicing, although limited. Rachaad White's going to mess up the potentially mess up the backfield of the new young guys for Tampa Bay, and Jordan Mason with his limited participation, and Aaron Rodgers should be fine.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. I think Aaron will be good. Aaron will play because his buddy's going to play. They were both practicing today. As far as the other running backs go, it's a tough call now because if you're watching the news and you want to start this guy, or if you've got the backup on a good team like San Francisco, like it's just a gamble at this point, trying to like put these backs in, especially if they're coming off of big games. Like they're not going to be like a Reuben Drones back in the day. It's not going to be like, come in and fill a spot and run through defenses week after week. It's just, I don't know. It's just not set up that way anymore. So I would be concerned. I'm not going to start Tracy. I thought I was going to start Tracy, but it's just too risky at this moment. I'd rather start Chubb if he gets the all clear than Tracy.
I want to save it for later, but like how you said, whether or not to Tracy, that the confidence level in that affects your decision on whether you want to play your Thursday night player. Similar with me with Jordan Mason and Javonte Williams. It's like, do you wait a little longer for the unknown, or do you take the guy you know is going to play, but you're not sure if he's your best player or not? But we'll save that for a little bit later.
Yeah.
What do you think about Rachaad White here? That you picked up Sean Tucker. We'll mention that a little bit later too. But now there's potentially 3 backfield running backs in the backfield, and who knows who's going to get the work. They've said they're going to go with a hot hand. I don't know who's going to get the first carry here. Rachaad White's the tenured player, but they're all pretty much young. They're all young players. So
remind me who the coach is.
Bowles, Todd Bowles.
Yeah,
he's a defensive coach. So
yeah, he's a defensive coach. So I think Todd Bowles would probably. Who's the offensive coordinator? Do you know?
They lost Canellis left, so I don't know who's taking over this year. I don't know
Okay.
the name of the guy, to be honest with you.
They might do the hot hand. I think Bucky Irving gets it. I don't know. I think it's going to be more of like a 40-40 and then maybe 20% Rashad White. I don't think Rashad's going to get a complete third split in the workload. I think Bucky Irving might get the top, and then my guy will pick up a little bit of the slack.
I think Irving is the best rusher of the
Yeah.
running backs. Rashad White seems to do. He gets most of his points in the passing game, and this is potentially going to be a high-scoring game with the Ravens. But Sean Tucker looked great last week
He did.
in both facets, but especially in that passing game. His long touchdown was a screen pass that he ran through everybody. So if you've got a more athletic guy, a more powerful guy who can take work from Rashad White in the passing game, you might have Tucker for the passing game and Irving for the running game, and Rashad White might just be nudged out here.
Yeah, I mean, it might look like the Atlanta backfield where Bijan's going to get those, those dynamic plays, and then if they're at the 3 or the 5, they're just going to give it to Algier.
This is more a concern for me. Just I want to mention this before we get to the next guys here. How confident are you that Devin Singletary is going to play or Jordan Mason's going to play?
Ooh, I'm not terribly confident, but I've been known to mess that up with like Joe Mixon and stuff. So, I don't know. Maybe it's my news source. Maybe I'm just not as on it as far as up to date. My news might be a couple of hours or a day late. So, I would be I'd be 50-50 on both of them. That's why I'm not starting Tracy.
Right.
But like I said earlier, the teams seem to be taking more caution than in past. So, if those guys have hamstring injuries and they're lingering at all, they might play, but they might not play, 20% of those snaps.
So in defensive view, it's not your news source, although I don't know where you get your stuff. The last 10 days have been crazy with Newt saying like Pittman's going to be on injured reserve or James Cook's going to play. And then people have been doing the opposite of what they've been saying all week.
Yeah.
Singletary's going to play. No, he's out. Mixon's might miss a couple weeks and he plays. So it's not you. The reporters this last 2 weeks or so, they've been having a hard time and we're just doing the best we can to figure it out.
Exactly. And I don't know what the exact rules are for having to put somebody on injury or what, how the team has to announce it or what the case is. But there might be something going on there too. They might be playing some sort of strategy game so teams can't game plan.
All right, let's move along to our next group of players here. Malik Neighbors.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Has been cleared from the concussion protocol. He missed 2 weeks due to this concussion, but he will make his return in week 7. Anthony Richardson has been practicing in full, just like last week. He's expected to make his return to the starting lineup, just like last week. But we'll see what actually happens on Sunday. And Cooper Kupp has returned to practice in a limited capacity, but barring any setbacks, it looks like he will get back on the field in week 7. Josh Downs, who's been dealing with a toe injury, he's listed as questionable. He did miss some practices last week. He's also missing practices this week, but he did play through the same injury last week. So we're expecting him to go unless there's any kind of aggravation. And Brian Robinson Jr. returned to practice after missing last week and should make his return this week in a plus matchup against the Carolina Panthers. And Russell Wilson is expected to make his season debut and get the start this Sunday night on the New York Jets. Against the New York Jets. We've already talked about Wilson a little bit. What do you got on? Well, Neighbors is just good to know he's back. So what do you got about Anthony Richardson, Cooper Kupp, or Brian Robinson here?
So as far as Cooper Kupp goes, Matt Stafford, his stock is going up a little bit if Kupp comes back. Puka should be back fairly soon too. So that really bumps that entire offense up a little bit. And then who was the other guy? Neighbors.
Anthony Richardson.
Alec Pierce will still be good. The rest of them, though, I don't know. Hopefully, my high ankle sprain Taylor is good to go. So he's a better runner than Sermon. So if Sermon is in, that offense is just passing.
All right, let's move along to the next guys here. We have a couple of players who are traded to new teams. We have Amari Cooper is expected to be ready to make his Buffalo Bills debut this week. Devontae Adams is also expected to make his debut for the Jets. Now, Jonathan Taylor, he missed practice all week, and I'm thinking he's going to miss his third consecutive game, but I did notice he does have a projection right now with Yahoo, a strong one. So you think he's going to go, at least right now. I think he's not. We'll talk about that a little bit. And Juju Smith-Schuster was added to the injury report on Thursday. So keep your antenna up as we approach Sunday. We've had multiple guys have late week injuries who've ended up missing that Sunday. Some guys have played, but we've had multiples that have missed. Let's see. We'll just go through the rest. There's only 4 left. James Cook and Khalil Shakir both returned to full practices on this week, meaning they should have a good chance to get back onto the field. However, Ray Davis, after his strong substitution game last week, has been added to the injury report, and he is now questionable for week 7. Travis Etienne, this is one of those news report things here. Etienne was listed as week to week with both a shoulder injury and a hamstring injury, but he's been practicing in full and may end up playing after all. And Tyler Lockett, another late week injury, was added to the injury report with a knee injury after the Thursday practice. All right, we had a lot of names here. We have the Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams. We talked about it a little bit. Are you excited to see Amari Cooper? We didn't talk about him as much for his Bills debut.
Yeah, I'm more excited to see Cooper than Adams. I think the Bills did much better in that whole situation with how much they're paying him, with the need that they have, being a 4-2 team, not being the 2-4 Jets that are just throwing up a Hail Mary at this point, trying to save the rest of this season. So the Bills, I'm excited to see it. I think that that will give Josh Allen a little bit of a relief. Shakir should start to see some more open spots on the field, so Cooper can stretch it a little bit. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, let's talk about, you have 2 players here. Jonathan Taylor, what's your confidence level here? I'm surprised you have, I know it's early. You have him in your lineup right now, and I'm surprised Yahoo has such a high projection. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I think you have him out of the lineup right now. You said you were excited to have a chance to play him. I don't know if it's just the numbers game or what's going on with these 2 players.
No, when I set my roster, and we could get into it when we do the matchups, I hit the optimal players just to see what happens, just so I can
Gotcha.
see that high projection. And then as the news filters in, Jonathan Taylor, I'm not confident in. I think he was questionable, and he had it projected in Yahoo all the way up until right before the game, like the day before, and then he's out, dropped it. And so I think he's basically saying, I'm good. And then when the doctors go and then he tries to do something, he's like, no, I can't go. Because again, I think he doesn't want to half-ass it. They want him 100%. They want, they don't want to have to change the game plan after the first quarter because he's got to get pulled out.
Right.
So that's how I feel about that. As far as Smith-Schuster goes, I heard that his hamstring was acting up after the practice. So I think that might be okay. They don't really have anybody else. So hopefully he can at least get on the field for, maybe 7 catches and, 1 long bomb. That would be good.
And then Travis Etienne, is he going to play or what's going on here? What do you think?
I don't know, man. We should talk to Ben.
I know. I want to bring that up later when we get to the free agent pickups.
Yeah, Ben's brilliant team is hoarding the Jacksonville running backs, so I don't really know what to think about that one, honestly.
All right. That's a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about here. So keep check back with us. Friendly reminder, we'll mention at the end of the show here, but we are going to do a live stream on Saturday where we'll have a much clearer, not the clearest, it's not officially active, inactive, but a lot of times by that Saturday afternoon, the reports start coming out who's been ruled out already. So we'll have a better idea at least of potential pivots we can make when we get to that part of our decision making. All right, now it's time to check in on the activity of the waiver wire for the Wingman Fantasy Football League. This week, we had 11 waiver bids for 8 NFL players, and 2 players received multiple bids. You have to talk about this one, Mr. Bernie, as George Pickens was out there, and he was picked up by Crazy Fish for $7, and he outbid Red Sox Nation, put a $5 bid, and Amazing Spidey put a $3 bid. Crazy Fish, you did a great job on this bid here. I thought $3 was too much, but with 2 overbids, George Pickens went to Crazy Fish. Isaac Garendo went to Cubert's Rage for $2, outbidding Amazing Spidey, who put in a $0 bid. Drake May went to Mac Daddy. Draco Mofo went to Mac Daddy 2s for $2. Cameron Dicker, the kicker for the Chargers, went to Crazy Fish for $1. Patrick Taylor Jr. went to Amazing Spidey for $0. The Detroit defense went to Amazing Spidey for $0. And Graham Gano went to Crazy Fish for $0. Which of these players are the most interesting to you? I'm going to start with George Pickens. You let him go.
Yeah.
Your 5th round pick.
Yeah, I know. I let him go. It was a drastic decision. I didn't know what Paul Kubert's Rage was going to do on that Monday night game, and I needed to pick up Brees Hall, and Pickens wasn't in my lineup, and he was the only one on my bench that I was like, you know what? I'm tired of trying to play this guy, and he's basically two low weeks, one high week, 2 low weeks, one high week. So it's like, you know what? Have him. This might be my sabotage drop
Right,
for
I was
the year.
thinking that. It's gonna, yeah.
So it's and Russell's going to be there. Now it might be that he becomes Russell's Tyler Lockett little buddy, and it's a thing. But if you watch the games, Pickens gets very frustrated very easily. He throws like little tantrums, not big diva tantrums, but little tantrums on the field against defenders. You know, it's like one of those things. He's good, but I don't know if he's worth the headache.
So did you notice?
So I was a little, oh shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, oh crap. You know, see, they picked him up. I totally forgot that I had dropped him. But then I was like, you know what? There's a couple people that didn't get bidded on. So I went in and I did my thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if you noticed or not. You said you picked up Braylon Allen to block Kubert's Rage in that game, but he picked up Ray Davis before you picked up Braylon Allen by about 20 minutes or so.
No, I know. I was actually texting him and I was like, "Oh, you did Davis over Johnson." And he was like, "Yeah, you know, I was debating between Davis and Johnson." And he's like, "But with my luck, the other person, who doesn't matter who I pick, the other person's going to get the touchdown." But he picked the right one. But then before I said anything, I went in and I got Allen. And then I said, "Well, I'm glad that I was able to get Allen and you weren't able to get him." And then he said, "Oh, I didn't even realize he was out there." So he might have picked him up if he realized he was out there, but he made the right decision. He's a much better fantasy football player than I am. So good on him. And that was a good win for Hubert.
Well, he's also the Bills fan. So if he's the tiebreaker is definitely going to go for the Bills player there.
Yeah. More than likely. So,
all right. So the interesting thing is we had a lot of players bid on for our waiver wire, but there was a lot of activity for free. The free agents were picked up right after the waivers closed on that Wednesday morning and into Thursday. Why don't you read off some of the free agent pickups that were that people saved some money, like you, who still has all of your fab. Why don't you go through some of the free agent pickups?
Yeah. So Demario Douglas, I'm sorry, Graham Gano was picked up by Crazy Fish. That was the last early morning one. Then Demario Douglas was picked up by Crazy Fish. And then early morning, 8:30-ish, Sean Tucker, the running back, he was still out there. I went ahead and dropped Braylon Allen and picked up Sean Tucker. So that was okay. That made up for the Pickens mishap. And then Ricard, the kicker, I dropped Santos because obviously Chicago is going to be not kicking field goals. They're going to be scoring touchdowns.
And they're on bye this week too. So
they're on bye. Yeah. So Ricard should be a good play. I think he's kicking in the dome. And then let's see who else is here. That's really it. I mean, Jerry Jeudy got picked up for free. He's going to be a number 1 receiver. Lion Eyes dropped Wan'Dale Robinson, which is good if Neighbors is coming back. Ben's brilliant team went ahead with that Jacksonville running back and Johnson.
So let's be clear here. Ben's brilliant team. This is like brilliant, crazy like a fox. This is how brilliant this might be. He's got not all 3. There might be someone else on the roster, but he's got 3 Jacksonville Jaguar running backs. So if any one of these guys go down, he's got it on lock. As he picked up De'Anderson Johnson, he already had Tank Bigsby, and he drafted ETN. All these guys might play. None of them might play, but he's got all of them just in case.
Yeah, so it looks like Demario Douglas, number 1 receiver. Drake May looks like he's going to be a good quarterback, or a serviceable quarterback. And Sean Tucker. Those were the 2 big nobody bid on pickups after the fact.
So I don't know if you can see that there, what you're looking at. I kind of have it in my memory, but I don't have it in front of me. What time did our waivers run? It will tell you the time of any of the players that are picked up by waiver.
By the bids or after the bids?
Just on the transaction, it should say what time the transaction went through, and all the waivers should say the same time. It was like
3:56 a.m.
And what time was Demario Douglas picked up, the first free agent?
4:09 a.m.
All right, so at 15 minutes and the thing is that time is a variable. It goes anywhere between like I've seen it as early as 2:50 and as late as 7 in the morning because it's just how Yahoo servers process that information. So I don't know if he's got an alarm set and just pushes refresh at 4 in the morning here, but he picked up the first free agent 15 minutes after waivers ran. Hey, if you got the time and you got the will, go for it. Good job, Crazy Fish.
Maybe he had some bean burritos for dinner, and he had a little midnight. Had to get up in the middle of the night and
Did a little.
empty.
Went to his library and refreshed his phone and got
exactly.
All right, guys. Now it's time to check in on our league's matchup. So let's see who's playing who in this week's matchups.
I want you! I want nostalgia!
Ready, down, put.
This week's matchup.
All right, our first game on the docket is Amazing Spidey on a 3-game winning streak. I don't know how at 3-3 is playing against the team with the best record and the most points, and on a 3-game winning streak himself, Paul's Cubert Rage. This is going to be a bloodbath. What do you have on this game?
This is I see Calvin Ridley, I see Kelsey, I see Jordan Mason still in a lineup. I see Josh Jacobs. Does he have more than one touchdown yet? Does he have 2 touchdowns already?
Just one.
Just the one. So I see that on one side, and then on the other side, I see Justin Jefferson, Higgins, Cook, Godwin, and then Cup if he plays. So Cup is the only variable on that team. I think everybody else is good to go on that side. So it's an uphill battle for sure. 10-point difference in the projection as of now, but there's still a lot of changes that could be made. There's still a lot of projections that could shift. So who knows?
All right. Our next game on the docket is Bernie's Team B, also at 3-3, up against Katie's King George at 2-4. What do you have on this game?
Ooh, so Katie, she is got good players, but they're not projected very high. I've got good players that are projected very high, but they are boom bust good players. So they are game script dependent good players. So I would lean towards Katie just for consistency. She does have Evan Ingram in, and I do have Jonathan Taylor in. So those 2 could be out. As far as the bench goes, I don't have anybody on bye. She does not have anybody on bye. So we've got a lot of wiggle room. So this might be a close matchup, a little strategic matchup.
All right. So while we're here, I just looked at the score. This is killing me.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned in our last show that you were considering sitting Alvin Kamara. He made it into your lineup. Who were you thinking about if you were going to sit him? Hindsight's 2020 here as this game being late in the game. Who were you considering putting in that spot, or who you were considering waiting on to see if you were going to put someone in that spot?
So it was so the 2 bench players that might move in is going to be Smith Schuster, who now has a questionable tag, and Tracy Jr., which Singletary is up in the air. So that would have moved into that spot. Both of them obviously projected half of what Kamara's projected. So the Thursday game really throws me because you're kind of like scrambling. You're going through your normal non-fantasy football stuff throughout the week. Thursday game comes, I'm trying to, get home, get situated, deal with normal life, and then looking at the stuff and be like, man, I just don't have time to make these like rash decisions. So there's no questionable tag on Kamara. It's not a great offensive, look for the Saints. So it's just really tough on these Thursday night games with players that you're kind of want to move in and out. And so I just left him in. Because I didn't want to make a stupid rash decision. And I played the Yahoo projection on it.
So I had a similar situation in the opposite direction with Jordan Mason, who's been my best running back.
Mm-hmm.
He's banged up. I'm nervous in a couple different ways. One, whether he's going to play at all.
Mm-hmm.
2, though, with the banged up AC joint, if he plays one big hit, he could be out.
Yeah.
But again, he's my best running back, and he's got a bad matchup. It was just, but my option was that. Wait to see if I find out more news and just gamble what information might come out later, or put in Javonte Williams, who I haven't started since week 1. I was nervous to put him in, and he's
You mean
having his
the
best game by
24.6
far.
point
Yeah, I just looked.
Javonte
It's killing me.
Williams. Oh man, I just looked at that points. Oh, that's tough. That is tough.
My team is way weaker than Kubert's Rage. That would have been the type of boon I would have needed. I need guys to outperform, and I let that one go. But the thing is with Williams, I've been waiting for him to have a good game as a potential trade away.
Mm-hmm.
And if I started him, I can't trade him till next Tuesday.
Right.
Or it won't go through. So even now I could trade him away. People can't use him this week, but I can still put him in a deal up until tomorrow to get some movement for Sunday, in time for Sunday's games.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things like if you put a guy in and he stinks or gets hurt, you can't drop him because he's in your starting lineup. You can't drop starters. If he does well, or or it is bad, then he's sitting there for 4 days while you're staring at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like I'd rather put off the pain longer. Although in this case, the pain just punched me right in the face as I let Williams sit down when I have questionables all over the rest of my lineup.
Okay, so I hear you on that, and that's a tough one that you so what's the deal with Taylor Jr.? Because if Mason doesn't go, is Taylor Jr. going to get
I don't know
anything? You don't know. Okay.
So Kansas City's is a very good run stopping team, which again is not a good matchup. Guerrero is not a pass catcher at all. I don't know Taylor's game, but I know Guerrero's not. So I'm assuming Taylor is the more pass catching type running back.
Yeah.
Taylor played better than Guerrero last week, except that Guerrero had a 76-yard run. So I'm just waiting. I mean, Guerrero would have been the better play, but I put $0 bids on both, so I was going to take whoever was cheapest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That works.
And honestly, even if Mason's inactive, I don't know if I'll play him. I have. This is going to sound bad. I've got Mark Andrews for that Monday night game, so I have someone I can put off all the way to the end if I you know what I mean. If I'm not sure, I've got a late player to put in.
So basically, what you're saying is there's a chance that next week you might have your second tight end rant because you'll have Kelsey and Mark Andrews in.
There's a chance. There's a chance.
Oh, that's a bummer. Well, at least you have at least you have it in the flex spot, so you're good.
Right. All right. Our next game on the docket here is Knicks waddle away at 3-3.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle.
Sorry, Alex.
And then against Corey's Mac Daddy 2s, who's at 5-1, and due to tiebreakers, he is the number 1 seed in the league right now. What do you have for this matchup?
Well, I don't know how Nick's going to do this, but he might win again. He has Adams. He's had Adams on his bench all this whole time, and he has Rodgers, but he currently has Rodgers on his bench. So he's going to start Justin Herbert over Aaron, but Herbert is playing the Monday night game. So this is a tough one here. Really, I'm not going to say anything about Mac Daddy 2s. He's got a stout team. The only flaw I see in his team is Breece Hall's consistency. Everybody else on this, and he's got Drake. He's got Drake May starting because Caleb is on bye. So that's the only thing I see as an issue would be Breece Hall's consistency and maybe Drake May, but I think Drake May will be fine.
So we didn't mention it in the free agent pickups. He finally dropped Deshaun Watson, picked up Draco Mofo, and now he has 3 rookie quarterbacks on his roster, and it's been working out pretty well. It was a little slow, but he's had Caleb Williams picking up the pace. He had Bo Nix. I don't know if he played Bo Nix when he had this good game. I think he's played Caleb Williams every game. And now he's going to go with Drake May for the London game and a masterful matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll see how the rookie does. He's going to have a rookie quarterback in his lineup no matter who he decides to play. He's going for it.
Yeah, and then hopefully it doesn't come down to be a really close game, just because Mac Daddy 2 also has Denver's defense, and Denver's defense just scored again. And so he's sitting at 18 points as of now with Denver defense on his bench.
The defense has scored multiple touchdowns?
Yes.
Without Patrick Surtain. Oh, my gosh. So I haven't been looking at this game because I'm trying to save internet bandwidth here. Like I said, I just checked the Javonte score. Oh, wow. So they're killing them,
They've only scored 1 defensive touchdown. I'm sorry. 6 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 defensive touchdown. And what is this? points against less than 6.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. That's dominate. Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
gonna be tough for Nick. It's gonna be tough.
Well, no, but that's on his bench. So
Oh, on his
hopefully,
bench. Oh, I misheard
hopefully
you.
it's not a close game because he'll be kicking himself having Denver's defense on the
Oh,
bench.
okay. I misheard you there.
Yeah.
All right, on to our next game. Oh, this one hurts. I feel so bad. Feel so bad for this guy. We should like get soup cans and charity stuff together for this guy. Reggie's Lion Eyes at 0-6 up against Jimerson's Red Sox Nation, who's on a 4-game winning streak. So we've got our longest losing streak up against our longest winning streak as Lion Eyes is facing off against Red Sox Nation. What do you have in this matchup?
I'm gonna say that Lion Eyes will be showing Red Sox Nation his O face. Oh, because he's gonna win this one. He's gonna win this one. I see Red Sox Nation has a little quarterback controversy brewing in his team. He's got Jalen Hurts on the bench, but he's starting Baker Mayfield.
Oh, he made the move.
Yeah, will Baker outpoint Jalen Hurts against the Giants defense? What? So we'll see. That Baltimore game, it could get out of hand, but it also could be a stout Baltimore defense. So this is risky. This is risky. So you know what? I'm leaning Lion Eyes on this one. He's got good players. Garrett Wilson might actually get a bump up from his previous points because Devontae Adams is on the field. So if Garrett Wilson can pull out something, then we'll be good. I mean, he's already had 2 20-point games, so he could be on fire after this week.
So we haven't been lucky enough to get or I don't know, lucky is the word, to get a sponsor yet, but Reggie's Lion Eyes does have his first sponsor. Congratulations. He is sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly. As he is 0-6. Okay. So that's a little rude. Okay. All right. On to our next matchup. We have Andrew's Crazy Fish, who's on a 2-game losing streak and at 3-3. Up against Alex's They Took Our Jobs, who's also on a 2-game losing streak at 4-2. Both these guys are in playoff position, but they are a little cold right now. What do you have on this matchup?
So with this one, it's Metcalf and St. Brown. This is the two that are just they're gonna be high scores, I believe, for both of those players. Both of them could, get to those mid-20s, I believe, for this game. Metcalf is going up against the Atlanta defense, which should be a shootout in that game because Geno Smith is just throwing it all the time. And then the Minnesota Detroit game should be a shootout as well. Saquon Barkley's got a revenge game, so I might be leaning towards They Took Our Jobs on this one just because he's got some players with potential. You can't bet against Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry in the same game. I mean, you just can't do it. So
did he put Saquon Barkley back into his starting lineup?
He sure did.
Good. All right. Our last game on the docket here is, Ken's the Fantastics at 1-5 and on a 5-game losing streak, but he's getting some Dolphins back up against Ben's brilliant team, who's at 3-3. What do you have on this matchup?
Well, I have to lean towards the Fantastics. He is playing Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane, so I don't know what the Tua situation is going to be. Huntley doesn't look like he's going to be the answer. He looks like he's just not quite there yet. So I have faith in my Dolphins, but those Dolphin players, that's a risky play. So I'm going to lean Fantastics. Because I see Gabe Davis, I see Tank Bigsby on the other side. Christian Watson, he's got 3 questionable tags over there on that side. So I'm going to lean Fantastics on this one.
Do you think that with the return of Mostert, Achane might return to his last year form now that he's not the primary ball carrier? He can be part of a package.
Yeah, I think that both of those players strive better in the package than solo. I think that's just how the system is set up for them.
All right, guys, let's take a look at our updated power rankings.
I have the power! By the power of Grayskull!
I'm living in it, no one man should have all that power.
Wingman power rankings.
All right, let's start at our. Oh, I didn't change that. I thought I did. Give me 1 second. There it is. Sorry for that little blip there. We are on our power rankings, and we did have some movement on the bottom of the list here, as now Waddle Away has dropped down to the bottom of the power rankings. Ben's brilliant team stays in at 11. Crazy Fish moves up from 12 to 10. Lion Eyes actually moves down a spot from 8 to 9. Spidey moves up, which is bad news. Spidey goes from 10 to 8. Cubert's Rage is locked in at 7. The Fantastics is falling down here. He went from 4 last week to 6 this week. Team B just stays locked in at that 5th spot, right in the solid place. King George moved down from 2 to 4. Red Sox Nation is up at 3 from the 6th position. Mac Daddy 2's moved up 1 spot to 2, and they took our jobs for the 2nd straight week, is atop of, maybe the 3rd straight week, at least the 2nd straight week, is atop of the power rankings, and he's been losing since he's moved to the top of the power rankings list here. Anything catch your attention here?
Yeah, so it looks like, Lion Eyes don't give up hope. I think this is the week that you get your victory. You're in the 9th spot. You're not at the bottom, so you're good to go. The other thing that really catches my attention is Cubert Rage, only in the 7th spot. I would think that he would be in the top, 3, 4. But I think they got the top. They got the top of this bracket correct here.
I've been surprised. Maybe I haven't looked at our team very strongly. Surprised that King George is always in this upper 4th here, top 4.
That's because she's really good at what she does.
I think I don't know, maybe because I have big scores for McCaffrey coming in at some point, projection wise. Maybe that's why. I didn't think about that till just now.
Yeah, maybe. The power rankings, I don't really, obviously I don't quite understand how they figure that out to the T, but it is what it is.
All right, guys, it is time to find out who we think you should play. Not us. Don't worry, we're not picking our guys. In this week's starts of the week. Let's start off with our quarterback selection. I only have one guy here, but how bad do you want to go first here, or you want me to go?
No, you can go for it.
All right, I'm going to start off. You mentioned it earlier. Matthew Stafford versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are in the middle of the pack in terms of points allowed to the quarterback position, but with the expected return to Cooper Kupp, Stafford is poised for a strong game, and the Raiders defense has been just kind of getting worse and worse every week. So so that's my start of the week. Matthew Stafford is my quarterback start of the week. All right, who do you got?
I like it. I like that call. I am going to go against my inner being, my soul, and I'm going to say his name. Aaron, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. 17.3 projected. I think that he is going to have a good game. I think his mojo is going to be flowing because he's got his buddy out playing on his team. He's got the coach gone. I think he's just gonna feel a little bit better. Everything's gonna be all right. So I got Aaron Rodgers 17.3.
So you started off the show saying all your innards are in the right spot, or whatever, how you're saying, organs, and now you're going against your innards. I don't know what's going on inside your body there, man. Just open a window and just take some time. You'll be all right.
well, I had made these starts of the week picks yesterday, and then finalized them today. So that's why I had to rearrange everything.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all displaced once I made this list.
You also mentioned Crazy Fish eating late night burritos. I don't know what's going on with you, man.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right, I'll let you go first on this one. We have our running back starts of the week. I have 2. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go. So why don't you take away one of my guys here, hopefully.
Okay. So for the running back start of the week, this is a two-headed backfield, if you will. But there is one superstar on this backfield, and I'm not taking him. I'm taking the other guy, Tyler Algier. He's only projected at a 7, but I think he's going to be it. He is looking for the end zone, sniffing the end zone. And Atlanta has shown us that they can beat you in the air and they can beat you on the ground. So take your pick of what you want, but Mr. Tyler Algier will have a big week this week.
Do you think he's going to outscore Bijan Robinson?
No, I do not. I think this is going to be a situation where it's like
16-14 kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like almost like Detroit. It is a little lopsided in Detroit right now. Gibbs is not getting those big numbers, but there'll be enough to go around for the Atlanta offense.
Okay. All right. Now that wasn't one of my guys. So now I got to figure out which one of these I want to go with. I think I'm going to go with the safer one here. We're going to do Brian Robinson Jr. up against the Carolina Panthers, who give up the most points to the running back position, including over 43 points combined to the aforementioned Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier just last week. Both players, Algier was just under 20 points. Bijan was over 24 points. And we've got another two-headed backfield here with Robinson and Eckler. And both these guys have a chance to get 15 points or more, depending on touchdowns. Brian Robinson is my running back start of the week.
That is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I have one written down, but I don't want to say it. I want to change it, but I don't want to change it because I already did all my research.
Is this for receiver?
Yeah. Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
I can do either way. If you need time to rearrange your organs, I can go, but it's
Yeah, you go.
right.
I might change it. Yeah, go.
All right. This one is it sounds like an easy one, but he has had a lot of several weeks underperforming in a row. There's probably a better way to say that, but we're going to go back to Tyreek Hill up against the Indianapolis Colts, who give up the ninth most points to the position, and they like to give up big plays, and Tyreek Hill is one of the best at getting those big plays. Fantastics play Tyreek Hill with confidence. He is my start of the week at the wide receiver position.
Wow. Okay. So you think that Tyreek Hill is going to score more points than Amari Cooper?
Yes, I do. Doesn't mean
that
that's going to happen, but you're asking me if I think so. I think, oh, man, I have to slow down now because we still don't have Tua back. Yeah, I think Tyreek Hill's going to get his this week. They've had a bye week. They're going to make sure they get their best players the ball, no matter how they can get it to him, and he's gonna show up this week. But I like it. Are you going with Cooper? Or just asking a random question here.
A little bit of both. I was going with Cooper, but now I was just asking a random question because both of them are on Fantastics. If I don't want to pick Cooper because Fantastic should start Tyreek Hill, and he should not start Cooper if that's the choice. So I'm going to go back to my original. My original is on my team.
Don't do it.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
But...
So Bernie picks Amari Cooper. Good job on your selection for the.
Oh, it's a tough one because like I said, I did this yesterday to figure out my players that I wanted to have starts of the week, and then the question tag comes on, and then it's like, man, what do I do? I just don't know what to do. So I can pick somebody else though.
No, well, it's up. Well, you can if you want, but I was gonna say for this instance, if Juju Smith-Schuster's inactive, I'll give you Amari Cooper as a fallback for the counting stat here. Or do you want to go off the board?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
I appreciate it though. All right. Let's look at somebody's team here. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is a must start. He's got 10 point. No, because I just did Aaron Rodgers.
All right.
I can't do both of them.
Go all in, man. We know you love the Jets. Just embrace it.
Oh man, I don't though. I don't. I so don't love the Jets. All right. You know what? No, I did the research. Smith-Schuster. Mark it.
Or Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper. Whichever one does best.
Smith-Schuster is only projected at 7.5. He on the field, he will get more than 7.5 points.
All right. I like it.
He's going to double that. He's going to get at least 15 points.
Well, I think unless the injury is like a real injury, like a serious thing, he's their only guy, like you said. So if he's feeling any kind of, they're just going to like, just take a break. We need you for Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it's not a serious injury at this point. There's nothing to indicate that. It just, we don't like these late in the week new designations. They're always a little like, I'm not sure what that means, but I think they know that he's going to get a lot of work, and they might, which hopefully just a rest kind of thing, and they just need to put a designation on him. All right.
So let me do a quick rundown. Aaron Rodgers, Tyler Algier, Juju Smith-Schuster. Those are my starts of the week.
And I've got Matthew Stafford, Brian Robinson Jr., and Tyreek Hill. Last week was so bad for me, I needed to go a little stronger here. So
Yeah. I want to do one strong, one medium, and then one fly. So,
Right.
all right.
Well, with Matthew Stafford, he's not on anyone's team, so that's kind of a low one there, lowish one.
Yeah. No,
Okay. It is time for your favorite Friday segment and mine. It's time for Fourth and Long with Bernie.
First down, the game's over. Go for it.
This measurement could determine the Giants'
It is
season.
time for Fourth and Long.
With Bernie.
Peanut butter and jelly, burgers and fries, tacos and tequila. Now, Mike, I know you're more of a cookies and milk guy, but stick with me here. Today on Fourth and Long, we're exploring another type of iconic duo, the NFL's greatest quarterback and wide receiver combinations. These pairs are more in sync than your favorite boy band. Mike, yes, I've seen your Backstreet Boys t-shirt. No, we won't be discussing it further. So let's kick off this highlight reel of gridiron greatness. In the number one spot for me personally, Dan Marino and Mark Clayton, the Miami connection that lit up the 80s. 79 touchdowns, 8,643 yards. Clayton caught Marino's record breaking 48th touchdown pass in 1984. Some say Marino's quick release was faster than a Florida retiree reaching for the early bird special. Next up, we have Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, the gold standard of QB wide receiver combos. 55 touchdowns, 67.5 completion rate when targeting Rice. 3 Super Bowl victories together. They were so good, the NFL considered making it illegal. Turns out they just made it unfair. Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, a duo that rewrote the record books. 112 touchdowns, 953 receptions, 8 consecutive seasons with 1,000 plus receiving yards. Manning audibles were longer than some people's wedding vows, probably more heartfelt too. Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, the recent record breakers, 470 receptions, 5,512 yards, and 32 touchdowns. Thomas set a single season reception record, 149 in 2019. Ooh, here's an oldie but a newie. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, the modern day mind meld. 68 touchdowns, 8,121 yards. Adams led the league in touchdown receptions in 2020 with 18 and in 21 with 11. Their connection was so good, it made the Packers family drama seem almost bearable. Almost. Now they're on a new team. Let's see if they can start setting some records before Aaron hits 50. I don't know. Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. The rocket arm meets Megatron. 56 touchdowns, 7,809 yards. Johnson's nickname was Megatron, well earned with his superhuman catches. Go Lions. Steve Young and Jerry Rice. The other half of Rice's 49ers legacy, 85 touchdowns, 92.3 passer rating when targeting Rice. Young to Rice was a sequel that lived up to the original. Tom Brady and Randy Moss. The GOAT meets the freak. 23 touchdowns in a single season in 2007. 2,517 yards in 3 seasons. Set the single season TD record for a quarterback wide receiver duo in 2007. Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne. Manning's other incredible partnership, 67 touchdowns, 9,737 yards. Wow. Wayne had 8 consecutive 1,000 plus yard seasons with Manning. And then finally, Brett Favre and Sterling Sharp. I know you weren't expecting that. The Frozen Tundra's dynamic duo, 41 touchdowns in just 5 seasons. Sharp led the league in receptions 3 times with Favre. Now, these partnerships remind us why we love football. They show us what's possible when talent meets preparation, when skill meets determination, and when 2 athletes are so in tune that they seem to operate as one. or when one guy throws the ball really hard and the other guy has incredibly sticky hands. Either way, it's impressive. Now, each of these duos brought something special to the game. Marino and Clayton proved that gaudy passing stats were possible even in the 80s when most people were too busy with their Rubik's Cubes to notice. Montana and Rice defined excellence for a generation and made the rest of us feel inadequate. Manning's partnership with Harrison and Wayne showcased his ability to elevate receivers and his inability to choose a favorite. Breeze and Thomas demonstrated the power of precision in the modern NFL and the power of really, really good glove sponsors. Rogers and Adams perfected the art of the back shoulder fade and move as smooth as Rogers insurance commercials. Stafford and Johnson showed us catches we thought were impossible, mainly because Johnson could catch passes in a different zip code. Young and Rice proved lightning could strike twice in San Francisco. Brady and Moss gave us a season for the ages and gave defensive coordinators nightmares for years. And Favre and Sharp were a beacon of excitement in the early 90s when most excitement came from slap bracelets and pogs. Now, these combinations prove that football at its best is more than just a game. It's an art form, a chess match, and a display of human excellence all rolled into one. It's also a great excuse to eat your weight in chips and salsa and yell at the TV. But let's focus on the noble aspects for now. So the next time you're watching the game and you see a quarterback and receiver pulling off seemingly impossible, remember the legendary duos. They set the bar, they broke records, they gave us moments we'll never forget. They also gave us moments we'd like to forget, but those usually involve fumbles and interceptions. So we won't dwell on those. So thank you for joining me on this journey. To all of our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let us know which quarterback wide receiver combo is your all-time favorite. Maybe it's one that we mentioned. Maybe it's a dark horse pick that deserves some love. Just please, no one say Rex Grossman to anyone. We're trying to keep this show family friendly. And Mike, I hope you are taking notes next time we play catch. I expect to see some legendary moves, okay? Although, let's be honest, I would just be happy throwing a spiral. Baby steps, right? So until next time, keep your eyes on the ball and your toes in bounds.
Very nice, very nice. I'm impressed with all that. Honestly, that's a great rundown. But the thing that caught my attention is how many of these great quarterbacks had multiple receivers. They had big time counting stats with. I think it was Montana, Manning, and was there someone else who had two players?
Well, it was Rice that had Montana and Young, and
That's
then
what I meant,
Manning,
Rice.
and
Okay.
then Manning had Harrison and Wayne.
Well, I got another one that's going to add to your two here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I wasn't sure if you're going to say it. I'm not saying it's my favorite, but I think they're actually up there. Tom Brady with Gronkowski.
Ooh, that was excitement. That was exciting football. That probably wasn't stat-driven football like some of these things.
I think they have more touchdowns together than you think. I think they're in that top 5 in overall touchdown combos.
Well, I'll make a note for next show, and we'll get into that. I'll do some research on that. I didn't want to put Tom in there too much because he's the Patriot.
I know.
Cheats. So we don't get too involved here.
All right, guys, it is now time to get into our Wingman Jam.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. All right, guys, let's check in on our Wingman Jam. Our last time around, there's a little confusion here. We're gonna go through this here, but last week the picks were let's see, we had Breece Hall over Braylon Allen. This one he gave me a freebie. Thank you for that, Mr. Bernie. As I took Breece Hall to outscore Braylon Allen, and I think Braylon had 0 points. I'm not sure if he got anything.
He had a virtual goose. He had 0.8 points.
Okay, all right. So that one I happen to get right. So I'm on a good start here as I'm 1-0 so far. Our next game on the docket here in the Wingman Jam was the Jacksonville against the Chicago Bears, a virtual pick'em. I went with Jacksonville as they were in London, and Bernie picked Chicago to cover. And not only this was a blowout. Chicago had 35 points against Jacksonville 16. So now we are tied at 1-1 with 2 to go. And this is where the confusion is. fantasy matchup, Waddle away versus Lionized. The way, so I picked Lionized to get his first win. Bernie, you went on a long reason why you really felt Waddle away was going to win. And the last second, you're like, but Lionized is going to win. So I put you in for Lionized, even though you said all the reasons why you thought Waddle away would win. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end, I had to listen to it 3 times. I'm like, he said Waddle away 10 times, but at the end, he's like, I picked Lionized.
Yeah, no, I did. I flopped.
Okay, so we
I
both
flipped and I
got that.
flopped. Yeah,
We both got that one wrong, and Lionized is still O'Reilly. Right now I am 1-2, and you are 1-2 as well. And our last game here was an over/under. You picked the Bonanza, Washington at Baltimore, with an over/under of 51.5, and they covered, getting 53 points, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote this down yesterday. I didn't double check myself today. You picked the over. You got that one right. I picked the under, got it wrong. So last week was a bad week for me altogether. Starts were awful, and Wingman Jam, I went 1-3. You went 2-2. Gracefully, you didn't get. You could have got way more with that Breece Hall, Braylon Allen pick. So after 3 weeks of our Wingman Jam, I'm at 7-5. You are at 5-7. What do you think about how this one's going in this second leg of our Wingman Jam?
It's going. I definitely made up some ground there, so I'm happy with that. The Lionize was a push, so I'm okay with that. But getting the 2 wins to your 1 is good. I like it.
All right, guys, just so we don't keep this going in our prop bets here, it is now time to do our real Wingman Jam. Every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on our score, we're going to do a 2-on-2 heads-up battle, and we are going to roll the dice to see which rounds we are going to choose from today. We're each going to pick a player from rounds 1 through 6, a round that's in 1 through 6, and then a round that is 7 through 12 or later, depending on the dice. Because I'm up by 2 scores here through our 3 weeks, I'm going to get the first pick. It's not a random draw. I earned it. I'm taking it. So let's get our, let's do the dice here. So our first round we're going to choose from is round number 3. And our second round we're going to choose from, oh, I dropped it. Let me do it again, is 12 or later. Oh, I got a 6 here. So round 3 and 12 or later. Let's put the draft board up for our viewers here and ourselves. I don't know who's in these rounds here. So I get the first pick from round 3. It's a little tiny for me here, so give me a second. 1, 2, 3. Well, we're picking flex positions. They can be receivers, tight ends, or running backs.
Okay.
All right, I go first here. Oh my gosh.
A couple of injured players here.
Yeah, a lot of injured players.
Pacheco and Collins in this round here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is actually a tough round to choose from right now.
And Evans. Evans is, oh.
I don't want to go first. Oh my gosh. They all have bad matchups. And a bye week.
Are we picking 2 players from this round?
No, 1 player from this round.
And 1 player from the other round.
Yes. Okay. I think I'm going to, oh my gosh, I don't love this. I'm going to take DK Metcalf for my first pick.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
You know what? Time out. I get first pick. I get to pick from either round. Let me take that back real quick. I don't have to pick from that round first.
Okay.
Oh, there's no one good here either. Jordan Mason's hurt.
12 and lower.
12 and lower.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, I'm sorry. I know I messed this up here. I'm taking from the last round here. I'm going to take J.K. Dobbins for my first pick.
Okay, gotcha. So for my first pick,
you can pick from either round.
I will take
either round. Yeah.
I will take Metcalf for my first pick.
Okay, yeah. Did I tip you off there, or is it that?
Oh no, I was looking at it, and then you said his name, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, I didn't love those guys there. So okay, so you get to go next. You get the next pick.
All right, so let's do that. Ooh, there's nobody here. Let's see here. It has to be from the later round, right? I can't take 2 from 3.
Correct. It's got to be 12, 13, or 14. So you can do both receivers for the Seahawks if you want.
And I can't do a kicker, correct?
It's got to be an offensive player. That's not a quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's not a lot to choose from. I see. You can take Jordan Mason. That's a little question mark one, but
is that purple Evan Ingram? After Elliott?
There's Ingram and there's Bowers.
Ooh, I'm gonna take Ingram.
Okay, nice. I like your team already. All right, now I got to go in the third round here. There's a lot of random guys here.
All right, so I got Metcalf and Ingram.
Nice, I like that.
And then you have for your first pick was
J.K. Dobbins.
Dobbins.
So now I got to pick between 49er receivers or Waddle or Evans, who's banged up.
Oh, you gave the start of the week to Tyreek Hill, so how you can pick Waddle? Now you can't make that decision.
Deebo Samuel's questionable, and they have a tough matchup.
Man.
You know what? I'm going to go with Ayuk. Let's do it.
Brandon Ayuk?
Hadouken! Yeah.
There you go.
All right, let me get this off the board here. So let's see. So I'm going to be going with a pair of I got Dobbins and Ayuk.
Yep.
Ayuk. You can do it. And you've got
DK Metcalf and Evan Ingram.
All right, winner takes all on this one. Just you got to outscore your opponent, and the loser will have to wear some sort of embarrassing mask, costume, or wig to show that they have lost. And all good fun. You had your cat costume last time. Let's see if you can return the favor to me. I'm kind of rooting for you here, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna dress up like Jackson DeVille, that Jacksonville Jaguar guy.
All right, very good. All right, guys. Now, now it is time to get into this week's mailbag.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. Wingman Fantasy Football.
Mailbag! All right, guys, thank you very much. Well, I want to remind you that any comment or post or message, direct message or otherwise, will get into our mailbag segment. And this one comes in from Lion Eyes. Thank you for still watching. I know you're having a tough go. I appreciate that. And he says, this one, thank you, Team B, for setting up the timestamps so I could skip around to my favorite parts of the episodes. And due to the timestamps, I was able to tell exactly when my season was over. Incidentally, it was at the 17:02 mark and week 5 rewind. Thank you so much for that. All right, Bernie, I want to thank you as well for all the hard work you do in putting those time stamps in, and it lets Reggie know exactly when a season's over.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. Go Lions.
All right, very good. Nice, short and sweet. I appreciate it. All right, guys, I want to thank you all so very much for joining us again. Don't forget, you can find all of our audio feeds on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music. You can get all of our content, audio or video feeds on wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. And of course, check out our YouTube page at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube to get all of our video feeds. And that's where you will find our live stream we're going to do this Saturday, an Oktoberfest Day special. We will put the audio feeds up. Probably will be out for Monday at the regular time. But if you want to catch them right when they go, we're going to live stream that at, we'll start between 5:30 and 5:45, depending on setup. And we'll run for about 25 minutes or so. So join us, guys. Bernie's going to be in charge of the chat on that one. I just told him that live here. So we'll be there. So please join us on Saturday for Oktoberfest live stream. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full. Your mug stay frosty.
I have now exhausted my daily quota of social interaction. Farewell.
See ya.